Hello friends, I'm back with another tutorial, and today we're going to be making the Alpine Beanie. The materials we'll need is a crochet hook that is suitable for your weight of yarn and either fingering weight or DK weight yarn. Here I have fingering weight yarn. We'll also need a ruler and a pair of scissors and an embroidery needle. Let's get started. To begin, we're going to pull out a long string from the yarn ball, long enough to leave us a nice good tail so we can weave it in later. And then we're going to place a slip knot onto our crochet needle. The first thing we're going to do is create our chains, and how many chains you need to do is going to be dependent upon what size beanie you're going to make. And I will link a little infographic down below in the description that'll give you all the different measurements for different size beanies. For this one, I'm going to be making a junior size teenager beanie, so I'm going to do 22 inches. Now I did find that whenever I made this child-size beanie, apparently I have a head that fits child-size things, so it fit me rather nicely. So if you're a woman who is not a child or a teenager and you have a smaller size head, this might work for you too. Just always reference back to that little diagram, that little chart I'm going to put in the description. It might be a good idea to go ahead and print that out and stick that in your knit kit so you'll have a handy little reference guide. So I'm just chaining away, and I'm going to keep chaining, and then once I feel like I'm close, I'm going to stop and measure. This beanie pattern is perfect for beginners because it is crocheted flat and then sewn together at the sides and at the top. It's all knit in one flat rectangular piece. Alright, so I'm sitting at about 17.5 inches. I'm going to go ahead and keep chaining until I have about 21, 21.5, 22 inches. If you enjoy these videos and they help you make something awesome for someone, all I ask is that once you get done chaining, pause the video, click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know that you enjoyed it. Give me some feedback. I'm always looking for some feedback so I can continue making great videos for you guys, great patterns. And if I'm moving too fast or if I'm skipping out on something that you need a little help with, let me know. I can always tailor the videos to help you guys make more projects and learn crochet, knit, and Tunisian crochet. So I've completed my chain. It is 22 inches long, and I am ready to move on to the next step. So for our first row, I'm going to zoom in here and we're going to take a look, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the fourth chain from the hook, I'm going to cover that fifth chain with my thumb. It's right there. I want to go into that. But first, before I do that, what I want to do is yarn over. So this is going to create a double crochet. And so I'll slide my needle in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now I have a double crochet. I'll repeat the process again. Yarn over, insert the needle through the loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and I have another double crochet. And we're going to repeat this all the way till the end of the chain row. Now I want to add a little personal note here. If you see my nails and they look awful, they are not dirty. I went on a yarn dyeing spree, and the gloves I was using while I was dyeing yarn ended up letting a lot of the dye get through. So my nails are now dyed varying colors. The left one you can see is a nice light bluish tint on the corner, and the right pointer finger is a nice yellowish orange, which is incredible. I spent the entirety of last weekend with my nails dark blue. I looked hypoxic. I think that's when you don't have enough blood in or enough oxygen in your blood. So I walked around town. I got quite a few concerned looks, but rest assured that I was fine, other than the fact that my nails were just dyed blue. They're still a little bit blue, and you'll see that towards the end of the video. So just keep in mind, my nails aren't dirty. That's just dye. I went crazy dyeing a whole bunch of yarn, which you can check out in my shop. It's at mountaintopyarn.com, and I'm also on Etsy. And on Etsy, I'm Mountaintop Yarn. So that's enough rambling. I am just scooting along, putting my double crochets in, and we're going to set up a row 1 of just all double crochets. And this pattern is such a simple repeat. It's just a 2-row repeat, so this is something you can sit down, put on some Netflix, watch the newest episodes of Expanse, and just power away at it. It's very mindless and very, very fast. So here I have my row 1 of double crochets complete. So I'm going to pick my work up, I'm going to turn it over, I'm going to make sure that yarn is in the back, insert my hook through the loop, tighten down. Now I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to work on row 2. Now the double crochet row was technically a foundation row, so I'm going to count this as row 1. So on row 1 we're going to chain 1, and on that first stitch, that one right there, we're going to skip it, and we're going to go into the next one, and we're going to single crochet. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we have our single crochet. Move on to the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to continue single crocheting all the way down till we get to the end. So this is considered the back of your work. So anytime you're on the back of your work, you're going to be single crocheting. And it'll become more noticeable once we do the next row. The next row is where our texture is going to start. And don't worry, once you get a couple rows down, it'll be very easy to distinguish what row you're on, if you're on a front-facing row or a back-facing row. I forgot to mention the yarn I'm using here is Yarn Bee hand-dyed yarn, and I believe it's in the Tiger's Eye colorway. Alright, all the single crochets are done. So we have our row of single crochets. We're going to flip our work. Now we're going to get into the Alpine pattern. Insert our hook, tighten up. I'm going to zoom in real quick, make sure my work is facing the right direction. And now we're going to chain 3. So we have 1, 2, 3 chains. So let's take a quick look here. We have our first, second. So we're wanting to skip that first stitch. And now we're going to want to go into the second one. And what we're going to do here is we're going to move that stitch forward, yarn over twice, insert our hook behind that entire double crochet. See how it's right behind that stitch? Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've done that 3 times. So now we have a front post treble crochet. In the next stitch, which is going to be denoted, see how that little double crochet is poking out a little? The stitch right above it, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook at the top of that stitch like we would normally do a double crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we've completed a double crochet. Now we just repeat that. But now we go into the next stitch. The next stitch is going to be a front post treble. So we yarn over twice. Make sure to skip that stitch you just put a double crochet in. Front post, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have successfully completed another front post treble. In the next stitch, we'll do a double crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to do it a couple more times for you so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So what we're doing is we're alternating a front post treble crochet and a double crochet as we work along the piece of fabric. So you can see here we have alternating stitches. So you can see the front post trebles kind of poke out and the double crochets recede into the back. So we're going to continue on in this fashion, doing a front post treble crochet and then a double crochet in the next stitch all the way until the end, making sure to get that very last stitch. If you need time to catch up, feel free to pause the video and I will wait for you to get caught up. Sometimes it's a little unfair watching these videos because you want it to go as fast as the videos are, but I cut out a lot of crocheting. So if you can't keep up, if you're like, oh my goodness, don't feel bad. Just go ahead and pause that and you'll be just fine. Okay, so our row of Alpine stitches are done at this point, and if I zoom in here a little, you can see at the end it looks a little tricky. Make sure you get that last stitch and you'll be good to go. Go ahead and turn your work over, insert your hook, tighten down, and for this row we're going to do a row of single crochets. So once again we're going to chain 1, skip that first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet all the way across in the top of those stitches. This is the back side of our fabric, so we're wanting to get to the other side of it without adding any height or any kind of special stuff going on. The focus is really on the front of the fabric and that beautiful alternating texture. So keep single crocheting until you reach the end of your work. Alright, so now we've reached the end of the work. All of our single crochets are placed. We're good to go. We're going to go ahead and insert, oh, don't insert your hook yet. Turn the work, then insert your hook so that your yarn is in the back. Tighten down. And so now we're at the front of our work again. So now we're going to begin our texture. So this first stitch, we're going to skip it. And then we're going to take a look at our stitches. You see we have the raised ones and then we have the receding ones. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1, 2, 3. That's going to count as our first stitch. And then that first one is raised, so that's our front post treble. So we're going to do a double crochet in this one. This row is going to be a little bit different in the fact that we're going to alternate our stitches. So where we have a front post treble crochet, we're going to do a double crochet. So that double crochet is going to sit right on top of that front post treble. And you'll see exactly why we do that in just a second. So now we've come to a double crochet, and you can tell because it's receded a little bit into the back. We're going to double wrap our needle, insert through the back of that post, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we've placed a front post treble crochet in there. Next stitch is going to be a double, and then our next stitch is going to be a front post treble crochet again into that double crochet. So you want to make sure you go right behind that post, yarn over, pull through, and you know the ordeal. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So as you go on, you'll be able to spot those front post trebles and where you need to put a double crochet because they'll poke out. The double crochets will always sit further back. So let's roll through and get some of these done, alternating between the front post treble and the double crochet. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got so far. So you can see the texture we're now creating. We're creating kind of like an alternating, very, very texturalized piece of fabric by alternating those stitches. Once we get that done, we go all the way to the end with that pattern. This is what we have. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning. This is one of the most beautiful stitches in my opinion. It would make a lovely cowl as well. And now we have our repeat. So the row we just completed and the single crochet row is going to make up the entirety of this pattern. So we have our front post trebles here, we have our double crochets here, and then as we move all the way down, we can see how it's starting to create almost like a basket weave, kind of. I don't know. I did this the first time I did it. I used my Foggy Mountaintop yarn collection, and it just looked like a forest of trees to me, which is why I named it the Alpine Beanie. And I think it is just absolutely gorgeous. Oh, here we go. Here's what it looks like after I've done a lot of rows. Isn't that gorgeous? I know I need about a 7¼ inch tall piece of fabric, so I've got just a little bit more to go. So I'm going to do, I think one more row should be sufficient. I'm going to do one more row, and then we're going to come back and we're going to finish this puppy up. And the finishing up is so simple. Okay, fabric is done. So this is what it looks like on the back side here. This is the wrong side of the work, and this is the right side of the work. So you'll have those little stitches that look like a bunch of little trees in a forest. So what I want to do is I have my working yarn here where I've finished that row. So I'm going to pull out a really, really absurdly long tail. You want to go for having more than you need than not enough at this point. This is very important. Snippy snip. And now insert our hook into the loop, pull tight, and we're going to pull that yarn all the way through that loop. So just keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Almost there, done. All right. Pull it tight and we're good to go. Let's move this off to the side. Your work is going to want to curl. Don't let that stress you out. It'll flatten out. Look at my poor fingers, how blue they are. Go ahead and thread your embroidery needle, tapestry needle. I'm not sure what you call this. Your needle. I'm using a metal one because I just prefer that over the plastic ones, but you can use a plastic one if you have that or you're more comfortable with that. So, what we want is we want our little beanie, we want the pattern to be facing outwards. So I'm going to kind of mock up what I want it to look like. I've got so many yarns here, so many long tails. So I'm going to give it a nice little straighten, and then I'm going to kind of mock up what I want it to look like. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when I sew these ends together. So I know that I want the seam on the inside. So what I'm going to do is take a look there. Yep, that's exactly what I want. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work to where the right sides are facing each other. And then I'm going to pinch those ends together. And then I'm going to start sewing. So you can use whatever method you prefer to seam your ends together. You're going to want to make sure that you're on the ends of the long portion of it. Don't sew the top together. Make sure you're sewing the ends together. So what I'm doing is I'm just going always in through the front, out through the back. So it's kind of weaving that yarn through there. So in through the front, out through the back. And I'm just eyeballing where it's going. I'm not being very, methodical about this. I'm just seaming it together. This pattern and the stitch texture is so forgiving that, once you get it seamed up, you're barely going to be able to tell that the seam is there, just because how texturized that pattern is. So keep working along, seaming the end together. And if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause, and I will wait for you at the end. And then once we get there, we'll go ahead and work on the tail that we need to weave in. All right, I'm putting my last few stitches in there, and now I'm going to take a peek and see what it looks like. See what I mean? I was not very methodical, and look at there. You can barely see where it seams together. So now I have this really long tail from when I started my work. So what I'm going to do is take that tail I'm working with now. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of my needle, set it aside, and I'm going to take that starting tail and thread it through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up that seam line and I'm going to reinforce it. And simultaneously weave in that beginning tail. My poor fingers are so blue. They were worse than this. This was like a day or two. Oh, they were so bad. I did this beautiful blue yarn. It is so gorgeous. It's mulberry silk and superwash merino, and it's called Mariana Trench. Oh my goodness, it's the deepest, most beautiful blue. I still have some in stock, so you can see it on the website. If you go, it's mountaintopyarn.com/shop. Look for Mariana Trench. That's the blue that destroyed my fingernails. All right, I'm coming toward the end here, and what I want to do is I want to go back up and just bust through all those stitches, you know, get in between those fibers and pull that yarn through. and then I'm going to flip it and I'm going to go the opposite direction. So that's going to add a little bit of stability to the stitch, to that woven in end, so it doesn't come undone. So you'll see I'm splitting the fibers of the stitches here. And then once I get it done, I get it to a point where I feel it's comfortable, give it a little snug pull so it sits right, and then snip it out. And you're done. One tail woven in. Now that we have our one tail woven in, we can go ahead and flip our work inside out, or actually right side out. And now we have something that kind of looks like a cowl. Isn't this cute? This would make an amazing cowl. Don't give me any ideas. I might just make this actually. It's so pretty. So now I'm going to rethread my needle with the yarn that's still on the attached to the project. And now we're going to work on closing the top of the beanie. So for this, I'm going to just get myself situated. I'm going to start where the yarn is connected. I'm going to zoom in here and go a little bit close in and see how I'm just weaving back and forth underneath those stitches. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just catching some stitches and weaving in and out, in between those stitches. So what I'm doing is creating sort of a drawstring effect. So you go in, out, kind of lacing it in through there. And I'm going to do that all the way around the entire top of that piece of fabric. So we're getting close to the beginning, or the end, I should say. And I'm going to scoop right in to close to where I started, just to make sure I'm closing up that gap. Now I'm going to sit it up as much as I possibly can, hold it, and pull that string. Now I want to make a caveat here. If you're working with 100% natural fibers, be careful when you're pulling tight like this, because you can break the yarn. So just pull taut, but don't break your yarn. Last thing you want to do right now is break your yarn. I know that if you're working with wool or alpaca or anything that's not acrylic, I think this has some acrylic and nylon in it, so it gives it a little bit of strength. So I'm okay to pull on this like I am. But you definitely, if you're using all natural fibers, you want to take it easy. So I found that pinching the top of the work like this and then holding that yarn in my pointer finger and middle finger, between those fingers, and then weaving in, there's no science here. This is all just, you know, improv. Go into whatever stitches you can catch and just go in a circle. Go in a circle and then keep going around. Uh-oh, my needle came undone. I'm gonna have to rethread that needle in a second. Okay, rethreading the needle. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I'm so anxious to get this done. I'm so excited to see it finished. Okay, pick up and squeeze, pull tight, pick up and squeeze, and then I'm going to keep just going in and grabbing those stitches because I want the top to be nice and secure. Fantastic. Okay, so now I'm going to poke it out a little bit, and you'll see it creates this beautiful little flower-like pattern at the top of the hat using the stitch pattern. I think it's absolutely adorable. So I'm going to poke the hat inside out, take my needle, and from the bottom going up, making sure not to catch any other stitches, I'm going to go straight through the center of that hole, or as close as I can to the center of the hole. Once I'm through there, I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug, and then I'm just going to start weaving in that end. So my point here now is to go ahead and fasten off. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a loop, pull my needle through, and then tighten down. So that'll create a little knot there. And then I'm going to insert my needle again, pull it, leaving a little bit of a loop, insert my needle through that loop, and then pull it down, tighten it. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing I did when I closed up the seam. I'm going to put a couple more finishing stitches, and then I'm going to start going in and breaking open those fibers, those strings, and just weaving back and forth. And then I always leave a little bit of a tail, a little bit. And then, bam, we're done. Go ahead and floof it, give it some nice little structure, stretch it out. If you want to wet block this, you can. If you want to block it in any other method, you can do that as well. I typically don't block my beanies unless they're knit and supposed to be very structured. This one is more of a rustic beanie, so I'm happy with the way it is now. And there it is, the finished beanie. I absolutely love, love, love this pattern. You could add a crochet ribbed. You can create a border around the bottom if you wanted to, like do a little add-on, but I'm not going to. I love the clean edge where the pattern just goes to the bottom edge of that beanie. It looks so adorable on. It's very, very, very gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel, check out my shop at mountaintopyarn.com.